Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Eliza and today I will be reviewing the Heartstopper series, all 5, by Alice Oseman. My review will of course include talking about the novels themselves, as well as the TV show that was adapted from the books, and then comparing the two. So before I get into the plot, what is Heartstopper? What is the vibe of these books, which are graphic novels, by the way, that were originally a webcomic? Heartstopper can be described as sweet, heartfelt, funny, charming, and for me who doesn't read much romance, maybe even a little sappy at times, but definitely feel good. And the TV show is just the same, maybe even better, which I will get into shortly. The blurb on the back of the first one is very simple. It just says, boy meets boy, boys become friends, boys fall in love. Heartstopper predominantly follows the relationship and connection between Charlie and Nick, who are both boys who meet at school. Charlie is a bookish overthinker who is openly gay. It wasn't his choice to come out, and that was a big event at his boys' school. Nick is kind of the golden retriever, popular but nice rugby player. Charlie develops a crush on Nick and is so unsure of if he feels the same or even if he likes boys at all in that way. Obviously, according to the blurb, we find out, yeah, he does. This is a quiet kind of story. It doesn't have big dramatic elements. It's not Gossip Girl or something like that. The series also goes on to navigate and explore the ups and downs of their lives, including not just young love or first love, but identity, friendships, family, coming out, and mental health aspects as well, which I think are all really well handled. Alice Oseman is the writer and illustrator of Heartstopper, and she first began writing them or publishing them in 2019 online as a webcomic series. They later got published into printed volumes, of which there are currently 5 out. The last one's coming later this year, the final one, so it'll be the end of the Heartstopper story. And then in 2022, they did a spin-off TV show by Netflix. There are currently 3 seasons of the Heartstopper television show. There isn't going to be another TV season, but there is going to be a movie to wrap the story up coming out in 2026, I think. I'm kind of disappointed that we're getting a movie instead of another season, but I'm still excited for it nonetheless. Heartstopper is in the genre of young adult fiction, contemporary, and romance, which aren't all ones that I usually read, by the way, so take that in while I do my review. It was so cute and just wholesome and nice and non-toxic, which I think is one of the things it really has going for it as well. So now onto the actual book review. As for the way it's written, there isn't always heaps and heaps and heaps of text or dialogue. Sometimes there's more visual, decorative kind of moments. Oh, cute. This is the one where they go to Paris in volume 3. There aren't always heaps of huge chunks of dialogue. We get little speech bubbles, we get glimpses of them using social media and texting, using Instagram. We get to see a good look at Charlie and Nick's inner worlds and how they think and feel using different illustrations and motifs. Like there's a lot of these cute little leaves that are always floating around, and they also put that into the TV show, which was super cute. One of the things I had to keep in my mind while reading it was that because it was made to be a vertical format that you read on your phone as a webcomic, it wasn't meant to be printed like this, or it wasn't planned initially to be formatted in this way. So I think when sometimes the spreads might just look not super cohesive here and there, that's the reasoning why. It doesn't really bother me. Charlie and Nick are really cute, but for me there were a few moments where I was like, oh, I'm cringing a little bit, because this is just kind of like sugary sweet, where they have this thing as well that they say sometimes where they're like, why are we like this, haha, and it's when they've had a miscommunication or done something like sort of silly or something's happened. And they're like, why are we like this? And I'm like, oh, okay, just stop now. I can't. But apart from that, it's very sweet, but not too sweet. The end of each volume, you kind of get a little profile of the different characters a breakdown of their different outfits and what they're wearing and why. Diary entries. Volume 4, the whole first part from memory, also kind of reads like a diary entry, which I thought was really nice. Sometimes we get little snapshots of what their Instagrams look like. A look at Nick and Charlie's rooms. We also sometimes at the end get a little side story that's a few pages long about some of the side characters in the friendship group who we don't see a lot of in the main part of the graphic novels. Volume 5 actually has a timeline of the story so far of what happened. Don't look too closely if you don't want spoilers. That's how I felt when Charlie and Nick were being a bit too cutesy here and there. I felt a bit like Tao, the best friend. All of these are really accessible to read. The first one itself doesn't have a lot of plot. It's more the introduction. I almost see volume 1 itself, the entirety, the 150 pages, which sounds like a lot, but isn't really. It feels like a pilot episode of a show to me. You get the setup of who the main characters are, you get the antagonist, you get a bit of the tension and the, ooh, okay, we've got a problem set up here. How's it gonna progress or be solved, or what's going to eventuate? And then it gets better in volume 2, where you get a bit more meat on the bones of the story and actual plot, and meeting more of the other characters or getting to know them a bit more in depth as well. And some of the pictures, just like, so cute. If you read volume 1 alone by itself, you kind of might be left with a, that was it. But then if you go straight into this one, and where's the other one? And so on, and so forth, and just continue, then you'll have a good time. I have to say, in the very first volume, not a lot itself happens, and that's, I think, one of the downsides of how these perhaps have been printed, because they kind of can end reasonably abruptly without being wrapped up. And that's because as a webtoon, how it was originally published, it was just meant to flow onwards. So perhaps that's one of the drawbacks of reading them this way, but I would recommend, if you are going to read these volumes, to pick up the ones that come after, because it is very bingeable. You could easily read them in a day if you've got a couple of hours. There's a great set of characters as well in the Heartstopper books. We have, of course, Nick and Charlie, who are sweet and lovable themselves, and you just kind of want to wrap up and protect the characters in these books, at least most of them, because they just are lovely, and they're just sweet little teenagers trying to work their way through life, who they are and who they want to be as well. That it just shows teens being teens. Look at this light coming through. They act their age. They're not perfect, but there's also not drama for the sake of drama. Because of the characters and their orientations, we do have at least some level of educating the reader about the LGBTQIA+ community, but it's organic and grounded. Teens going about life and all the trials and tribulations and wonderful moments as well that being a teen brings. I think one of the great things about it is that anyone who is a teen or older could pick it up and read it and relate to characters, either because they are gay or bi or queer or whatever, or because they're not, because of who they are. There's just so much relatable stuff in regards to crushes and going through school and just being a teen and growing up, and friendships that can morph and change as you're a teen as well. I feel like similarly with the mental health aspects that they get into, especially in volume 3 and 4, in particular number 4. If you are going to read the series, maybe do look at some trigger warnings. The way Alice Oseman deals with the mental health aspect that some of the characters go through is realistic and is not romanticized either. There's positive modeling for people of, if you knew someone in this situation, here's some things that you can do, which, yes, does feel a bit like educating the reader, because it is, but it doesn't feel inauthentic and like it's been plopped in. They're all just teens. They're not adults. They don't know exactly what to do. And yes, they need help from adults as well as their circle of friends who are their age. Now, a bit with the TV show. I thought the TV show of Heartstopper did an excellent job at translating all of these, I would say very faithfully, into a TV show. But I think it actually made some improvements, because those are the bare bones. And then with the TV show, you have your main two, Nick and Charlie, but you also have all the side characters more fully fleshed out and feel more fully realized with more detail. I'm using the word more a lot because they are more present and there's more to each of them than we get to see in the graphic novels. I think one of the reasons why the TV show is so good is because they very faithfully followed the books, but when they did add something on, it stayed intact with the character and the general feeling of the story and the world. And Alice Oseman, the author, was one of the writers, if not the writer as well. She was in there somewhere. To me, the books stand up within their own right, but I enjoy the TV show more. And in the TV show too, we get the addition of color and music. I would have loved if these were in color. Sadly, they are not. But the beautiful colors they use on the front, just if that had been all throughout. In the TV show, we get a lot more information and characterization for the side characters, who in some ways I enjoy more than Nick and Charlie themselves. They don't feel like minor characters anymore. They are all their own unique individual character, and we get to know them as people and not just as like a nice backdrop for Nick and Charlie to have their story. It's really windy and now sunny outside, so you're gonna get some nice light coming through here. We get character arcs for other characters, in particular Elle, who is a trans girl who used to go to the boys' school and now goes to the girls' school. And then we have Tao, who is like Charlie's other best friend, who's at the boys' school, because they're kind of like a trio, Charlie, Tao, and Aled, who then gets turned into Isaac in the TV show. And he's one of my favorites, and he needs justice because he barely gets a plot line. He's kind of plopped in there randomly, but when he is there, he's great. He's funny. Justice for Isaac, please. Yeah, in the TV show, I liked that there was less focus on Nick and Charlie. Not because I don't care about them, because obviously I do, but because I get to care about more characters and get to know them. They play around with the foundation that was set up in the books about the side characters, which often plonked at the back as a little mini story, plonked onto the end, because there's not enough time in the books to explore Nick and Charlie and all the side characters and all of their lives. But the TV show, you do have the time to do that. But then again, there were a few times where I was like, okay, enough about Elle and Tao as like the secondary main plot point. I want to know more about Isaac and Charlie's sister. Sometimes they almost focus too much on like just two of the side characters and then not enough on a few of the other ones. But overall, very enjoyable. Like the books, it toes the line of being wholesome, uplifting, and feel good, while also not shying away from more serious topics like mental health, which, like the book, get handled in a sensitive and thoughtful way. And they're represented like teenagers. I think most of them were actually teenagers when they started, and they act like teenagers, and they don't all look glossy. They have imperfect skin. They wear non-catwalk looks. It's not Gossip Girl teenagers, it's real teenagers in the middle of the UK who just like are going to school and trying to live their lives. So let me talk briefly about color, because I feel like the show uses color so well. It's a dopamine hit. There's bright pinks and blues and greens and yellows. There's also really sweet little animations. There's a lot of leaves imagery that pops up with little animations, 2D animations. Colors used really effectively for storytelling. Brightness when things are going well, obviously, or there's happy, loving feelings. And then we sometimes get like these dark kind of clouds or like scribbly lines that are closing in on a character so that you can get a glimpse at what they're feeling, even though it's not being said. And I really like the use of the 2D because it pays homage to the books, And it also feels kind of nostalgic, like watching Lizzie McGuire or Girls in Love, where they have the same thing. I don't know if anyone else remembers the Girls in Love TV show, but I was obsessed. I thought that was peak fashion. Also, the music, man. The music is bomb. There's a playlist on Spotify that has all the songs in the show that I put on, and it's really vibey. Just to give you an idea with some names you might recognize, in the discography, we've got Grimes, Birdie, Billie Eilish, I think there might be one Taylor Swift, Tom Odell, Wolf Alice, Arlo Parks, Phoebe Bridgers, Baby Queen, who is a new favorite of mine, her music. I listened to one of the albums because I kept being like, I like this song, who's it by? I like this song, who's it by? So now, comparisons. Books versus TV show. I've already given away that, yes, I do prefer the TV show to the books, because we don't just get Charlie and Nick's romance, we get a lot more about all the other characters, and I think that's a real strength of the TV show compared to the books. It adds more variety, because I think if the TV show was strictly just Nick and Charlie 90% of the time, like the books are, I don't think I'd be into it nearly as much, to be honest. Even though there's not a lot of source material about how the side characters think and feel in their inner worlds a lot of the time, the TV show demonstrates it really clearly with the use of color, music, the 2D animations, and just how the characters are and how they communicate and the choices they make. We get a good feel of what they are like, and they're very distinct. In both the TV show and the books, there is a tad of the miscommunication trope, I guess you could call it, here and there, where characters are not communicating as well as they possibly could, but it's not done in a really dramatic, over-the-top way. And it never lasts too long either. The TV show plays around with drama for the sake of drama a tiny bit more, because, for example, at the end of season 2, we've got all this lead up towards prom that is happening at the end, and then of course things go wrong, but then it all ends up like a happy good time, and that doesn't happen in the books. There is no prom. It's a UK school. I don't think prom's a massive thing to my knowledge. And with regard to communication as well, I still think that they do a better job than a lot of adults would do. I just want to put it out there. And a lot of the time they also work things out together, like they problem solve together if something's going on, because we get to see them hanging out all the time, so they have the opportunity to as well. So would I recommend Heartstopper? Well, I feel like the obvious answer is yes, but also it depends. I really enjoyed both the TV show and the books. I enjoy the TV show more, but also because I'm more likely to watch something fun and uplifting than read it necessarily. And as I said as well, I don't always, or don't often at all, read contemporary or romance, let alone both. And young adult too is not a huge genre of mine that I read. So it was kind of an unlikely friendship that I and these books got along as well as we did. I don't think they're perfect. I didn't give them 5 out of 5. The series as a whole, I definitely give it a solid 4. And I'm really keen to see volume 6 and read volume 6, and to watch the movie that will come out to finish the TV series. Basically, I'm more likely to watch and appreciate something fun and aesthetic like the TV show compared to the books, which are not in the format or genre that I would usually go for. Contemporary romance just ain't me. And I'm not the target audience either. And as I said, of course, there's more variety in the TV show than in the books in terms of characters and story arcs. I think it's really important that there are joyful tales of the LGBTQIA+ community, because so often it can be all doom and gloom historically as well. And it's just nice that people now have something positive and joyful that's still meaningful as well to watch and read and enjoy and relate to, especially for young people growing up, whether they're LGBTQ or not, because I feel like it will create some more empathy, and so that people can also make positive changes for themselves and others as they grow up. not to get all deep and meaningful, but thanks for joining me today. Like and subscribe for more bookish content from me, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. See you later. Bye.